What a do, baby. Yes, as you can magically tell by the power of technology. No, friends, we are not in the lovely confines of my Ash Gregoire Chambord Nissan Maxima SR trim line. That's right, friends. Over 300 horsepower in that V6 engine at Ash Gregoire Chambord Nissan. It is Quebec's #1 rated Nissan dealership. Check them out online 24/7 at chambordnissan.com. And of course, their in-house shopping experience, superior at 4299 Outer Route 440 West in Laval. No, my friends, we decided to transition into the domicile today on In the Car with Star. A little too cold. It's your first real look at a good old-fashioned Canadian winter, the one that you and I grew up with, the one that puts hair on your chest. Yes, even for the ladies in our lives. Look, it's 2023. We don't judge. In this day and age, we have learned our lessons from that in the aftermath. No doubt of a Montreal Canadiens interesting weekend. This team is heating up. Tankathon.com tells us the Montreal Canadiens really haven't moved from where they've spent the last 2 weeks or so, occupying the kind of 27th rung in the overall NHL standings. The comments coming in already. Good morning, Corey. What it do on this back to work Monday, fresh off a jam-packed weekend of National Football League activity? We'll talk about that certainly as the podcast continues on this morning. Don't forget, you can always support me by supporting my sponsors. We spoke about Ash Gregoire Chambord Nissan. Don't forget, Axon and AxonGroup.com is one of Canada's largest intermodal transportation providers, whether you're shipping cross-border or here within Canada domestically. Axon has the knowledge and the assets to get your freight to its destination the best way possible. For more information, you can always visit them at AxonGroup.com, or better yet, call them 888-99-AXON, AXSUN, AxonGroup.com. Support me by supporting my sponsors. What exactly are the Montreal Canadiens doing? 2-1 losers against the Islanders on Saturday, and then follow that up with a 2-1 victory over the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden. As we continue to tell you, despite the comments on our YouTube page, you can always hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button. That way you'll never miss another In the Car with Star episode, which featured some of our best bets from the NFL, where I gave out 10 bets yesterday. We brought home 8 winners. More on the wrap-up to NFL wildcard weekend in just a second. But, you know, we've been speaking often here in this space together about Martin St. Louis, and his strongest asset, I think, showed itself once again over the weekend, and that is his relatability. As a former player, as a former overachieving player, as a player that flew under the radar, didn't get enough universal respect for the fact that he wasn't the prototypical 6'3", 225-pound, chiseled out of granite NHL player. No, he had to overcome a lot of obstacles in his life, and that makes him extremely relatable, especially as he begins the process of showing some of these younger players the rigors, the what it takes mentally and physically to be successful on an everyday basis at the NHL. And that's what you heard from Martin St. Louis off his team's 2-1 performance at Madison Square Garden over the New York Rangers, where Sam Montembeault was better than Igor Shesterkin. As Monty, the Canadiens' new #1 goaltender, has been in goal all week long. He started 4 straight, including back-to-back over the weekend, and has put up a .974 save percentage, a .947 save percentage, a .929 save percentage, and a .925 save percentage. So if you thought for a second at any point this NHL season that Martin St. Louis and his teammates were all aboard the Tankathon Express destination Connor Bedard, it goes to show you one more time that that is not how these guys are wired. It's not how they think. You know, there's no reason to ever believe that anybody on this Montreal Canadiens team gives 2 bleeps about whether Connor Bedard is on this team 2-3 years or even next year. These guys are all about the business of winning, and winning today and winning tomorrow. So if there was any seed of doubt left over in your mind about how this season has played out, that should be squashed based on what you're seeing. As the Montreal Canadiens have 3 wins in their last 5 games. They're getting, as they were at the beginning of the season, out of this world goaltending. We gave you the splits for Sam Montembeault, and in 159 shots that he's faced, he's allowed a total of 9 goals. So he's establishing himself as a consistent goaltender, and it looks as though that Martin St. Louis is more than comfortable riding Sam Montembeault as much as he can, despite the fact that Jake Allen is still nursing an injury, but I think he's closer to returning. And the organization in the here and now immediately doesn't have a lot of comfort when it comes to Caden Primo, who is dealing with his own nagging injuries and doesn't have enough reps. So Martin St. Louis didn't want to throw him into the fire. And also keep in mind, Martin St. Louis wants to win games. He wants his guys to win games. And I understand the battle that they're in. And, when we spoke about last week, Juraj Slafkovsky slumping. Well, he's got a lower body injury now. He finished off an interesting weekend with 2 shots against the Islanders and a single shot on goal before he went down with injury against the New York Rangers on Sunday night. Cole Caulfield had 6 shots on goal. Canes are scoring on a power play. Their shorthanded situations are looking better. So it's all about progress. It's all about progress while understanding the end goal here that this Montreal Canadiens team is not going to be that competitive. And I say that knowing that this team has 3 wins in their last 5 games. But again, look at the recipe. What's happening here? Sam Montembeault is giving you 975 to 950 goaltending, and the Montreal Canadiens are winning 2-1 hockey games. When that dries up, we've been down this road together already. When that dries up, and it will, the Montreal Canadiens are going to lose more than they win. And when you look at how everything kind of goes together, Juraj Slafkovsky slumps as the team slumps. Nick Suzuki disappears, the team disappears. Cole Caulfield kind of is the steady Eddie of the group. While Kirby Dach, his game falls, the team falls. So what's happened since, right? The Canadiens have won 3 of their last 5 games. Nick Suzuki is a point-a-game player over his last 5 games. He's on pace for a 70-point campaign. Kirby Dach is on pace for 50 points. Cole Caulfield on pace for 67 points and 48 goals. So, there's lots going. And I like the progress. I like the fight. So I continue to kind of straddle that line of developing, seeing how young guys respond, how young guys engage, how young guys deal with adversity in season. And it's all part of learning on the job, even for a guy like Martin St. Louis, who, last week when they got absolutely cracked, pun intended, by the Kraken, Martin St. Louis comes out immediately after the game and talks about, there's one word, embarrassed. For sure. So there is no free pass for Martin St. Louis. We understand the honeymoon is over and he's learning on the job. And there's no free pass for whether you're Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, or Juraj Slafkovsky or Jake Allen. This team is wired to win, and they're learning what it takes to get through a very difficult 82-game season with a lot of travel. Now, the good news for the Montreal Canadiens, I suppose, and their fans, if you haven't been to a game, you're going to have a pretty good shot at going to some, because in the next 10 games, the Canadiens will play 9 of their next 10 on Bell Center ice. And look, they're still a bottom of the division team. They're still below 500 overall. So that means below 500 on the road, below 500 at home. And the Montreal Canadiens will play 9 of their next 10 in front of their fans at the Bell Center. So it's been an interesting week. I like the compete. I like the drive. And I don't know how much we're going to see in terms of a difference, because whether it's Jesse Ylonen or anybody else, Justin Barron, that is getting looks, multiple looks, anybody else that ultimately gets moved out and who gets called up from Laval, there's going to be a common denominator, and I'm ready to call it. That common denominator, as the season grows older and Ken Hughes makes moves, is whoever they bring up from Laval or they acquire via trade is going to be someone that is ready to fight and is someone that is ready to make a name and make a positive first impression. So what you're seeing from Kirby Dach is your second line center delivering consistent performances. Tough break for Jake Evans, because for the better part of a week, he's been arguably the most consistent centerman. His line with Yoel Armia has been a very consistent, high-end performing line for the better part of a week. Jake Evans out with injury. Brendan Gallagher on the sideline for a very long time, 6 weeks, they're saying. And Juraj Slafkovsky back home in Montreal to be reevaluated, but it looked like a lower body injury there. So you're seeing Sam Montembeault identify himself as someone that is worthy of the coach's trust, even though I still think Martin St. Louis prefers Jake Allen over Sam Montembeault. Truth be told, I do as well. Kirby Dach growing into his role as the Canadiens are trying to find depth, and that's where we are. So yes, it's fun to read into results and everything else, but I still think, based on what we're seeing, it's still an opportunity for Martin St. Louis to allow guys to grow into their roles. And who isn't impressed by what some of these young stars are doing, led by Cole Caulfield and his 48-goal pace, or whether it's Nick Suzuki, he's on pace for 70 points, and he's a point-a-game player over his last 5 games. I remind people about all the words, all the criticism, all the hard opinions, myself included, we all had about certain players on this team, but particularly Nick Suzuki playing with the weight of the captaincy on the Canadian sweater. And look what he's doing. As we spoke about last week, identifying yourself as a legitimate leader on a team like the Boston Bruins that never loses, I think, is a very easy task. Answering the questions from the media, facing scrutiny, losing more often than you win, while also still putting up good numbers. To me, that's how leadership truly shows itself in the face of adversity. Leading in an easy time on a winning team, very easy to do. You put yourself on a juggernaut, on a rabid fan base like the one we cover here with the Montreal Canadiens, and you're losing, and people have expectations, and you don't live up to those expectations, you are going to hear it. So let's keep that in mind when we talk about Nick Suzuki, or you sharpen the knives of criticism for certain guys. Remember what we thought about. Remember what this team is doing, and here they are again, winning 3 of their last 5 coming up this week. They've got the Winnipeg Jets, and then of course a Saturday night home game with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the soft as left out butter on the counter, Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs making their way to the Bell Center on Saturday. Lots of comments coming in. Thanks as always. Don't forget, In the Car with Star, brought to you by Axon and AxonGroup.com. They have the knowledge and the assets to get your freight to its destination the best way possible. For more information, AxonGroup.com, or better yet, call them at 888-99-AXON. This is a locally owned and operated transportation group, a leader in the transportation space, locally owned and operated out on the South Shore in St. Hubert. Check them out for more information at AxonGroup.com. Corey Fitzgerald, what a do, Corey Costa. Good morning, Sean. For the Habs, personal success over team success. Poor Jonathan Drouin. Jonathan Drouin is all over the ice, still goalless on the season. 49ers all the way. Is that who you guys are feeling now that we have one more NFL wildcard game, and that is tonight with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the first time in Tom Brady's NFL career? He is a home playoff underdog when his Bucs entertain the Dallas Cowboys as 2.5-point underdogs. We'll talk about that in just a second. And Adam Foley, yes, all but true, but soft-boiled eggs are great. That's a callback to this morning. This is why I tell you, TSN 690 listeners, they are the best in radio, regardless of language. Don't forget, Connor McKenna, yours truly, every day, Monday to Friday. Listen, I don't want to work on the weekends, so I take that back. Weekdays on TSN 690, 6 to 10 a.m., Connor McKenna, and yours truly. It's the morning show on TSN 690. We had Eric Macramella on the 3-star quiz today, and Eric Macramella loves himself some soft-boiled eggs. Yummy. Nothing says breakfast like half-cooked egg yolks and egg whites. The slurpy goodness of the soft-boiled egg is only Eric Macramella can provide. 3-star quiz weekdays at 7:35 on TSN 690. We have some fun 4 or 5 lighthearted questions surrounding sports, and a lot of food talk on the TSN 690 morning show. I hope you had a good weekend watching the NFL. And hopefully you tailed some of my picks, because let me tell you something. We were all right. We gave you 10 picks total. 8 of them were winners. Unfortunately, we lose. I took the 9.5 points with the Seattle Seahawks as San Francisco, the big favorite that covered, and certainly a tale of 2 halves of San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan and crew, and an unbelievable performance, quite frankly, of all the games we watched this weekend. Nobody looked more dominant. Nobody looked more thorough. Nobody looked more prepared. Nobody's defense lived up to the reputation that they had earned in the regular season, more so than the San Francisco 49ers, led by rookie quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant himself, the last player chosen in his NFL draft year, Brock Purdy. Over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. The 49ers put up over 500 total yards of offense in their lopsided win over the Seattle Seahawks. So San Francisco will now host the winner of tonight's Dallas and Tampa Bay game. That game will go down Sunday at 6:30. We were also on the wrong side of the Buffalo Bills scoreline. As far as the point spread, the Bills favored by 13.5 points against Skylar Thompson and the Miami Dolphins, who once again showed you, and I don't know what your takeaway was watching the Buffalo Bills and the expectations. And listen, when I watch Buffalo all season, obviously hard not to love what you see from Buffalo offensively, defensively too. And then you factored in the whole emotional quotient of DeMar Hamlin. Here was the the Bills player that suffered a cardiac arrest in the game against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati on week 17. Obviously turned the corner for the better. Hamlin did. He's at a hospital. He's back home. He visited his teammates and the rest of the organization at the Buffalo training facility to provide more emotional motivation. And so I thought when I added all of that up, to me, it reeked of a Buffalo Bills dominant performance at Orchard Park in Western New York. But alas, it was not to be, as the Miami Dolphins had a lead at one point, but ultimately, again, kind of a theme over the weekend. It's not just Andy Reid and other veteran coaches. There's a lot going on in the NFL with the mayhem of clock management, how many downs, personnel in and out, various packages on both offense and defense. That it's only normal that occasionally you can lose track and lose focus of kind of where you are. And we saw that in the LA Chargers, Jacksonville Jaguars game. We saw it with John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens in the late game yesterday. Clock management, coaching in the NFL is a very, very difficult challenge. That's why we often tell you that coaching in football matters more than any other sport in North America. And you can make one small mistake, and man, oh man, is that magnified to the nth degree. You saw that in multiple games. So you have the New York Giants, as we correctly predicted, along with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boy, were we ever lucky with that one. And I'll be honest, hand up. I went to bed. Saturday night. You know, it was kind of funny that, my better half went to the Laval Rocket game on Saturday. I stayed home because I wanted to watch the NFL playoffs. She's out in Laval watching the Rocket kick ass. Coming back home, I'm watching this Chargers-Jaguars melee, and it's 27-0. It's 27-7. Al Michaels and Tony Dungy. Michaels is telling Dungy, great job, Tony, to communicate to the audience that a blowout, how to stay with us, selling all the good points of what would have been an improbable comeback. And it was around 20-11 on Saturday night, and I was tired. I said, 27-0, 27-7. This is a blowout game on Saturday night, man. What am I doing? I'm just going to go to bed. I was tired. Turn off the TV, wake up the following morning to see that the Jacksonville Jaguars, with a last-second field goal, come all the way back from 27-0 to beat the LA Chargers and Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert to punch their ticket to the divisional round of the AFC playoffs, where they meet up with Kansas City on Saturday night, with the Chiefs at home favored by 8.5 points. So I don't know how many of y'all that are watching me right now stayed up on Saturday night to watch the comeback of all comebacks. Seems to be a bit of a thing so far. We see it in professional golf, and now we see it in the world of the National Football League. And of course, super wild card weekend lived up to all the hype. So here are our matchups. We've got Jacksonville at Kansas City Saturday at 4:30. The Giants and Eagles is your primetime Saturday night game. The Eagles go into that one at home off their bye week, favored by 7. Sunday at 3 at Cincinnati and Buffalo. The Bills by 4.5 points. And then 6:30 Sunday night, the winner of tonight's contest between the Bucs at home and the visiting Dallas Cowboys. The winner of that game goes out to San Francisco to play the 49ers. Stephen Deere, what up, brother? Yes, Steve. I went to bed Saturday night, woke up to the news that Jacksonville came all the way back from 27-0 to stun the football world. And it was funny, making my picks for Misojeu and Misojeu.com as I do throughout the course of the NFL season. That the fact that the beginning sentence of my opening paragraph to handicap that Jaguars-Chargers game was, I can't wait to see how the Chargers mess this game up. Pooch kick, clock management, a costly turnover at the wrong time, all that stuff. And lo and behold, what do the Chargers do? The Chargers do what the Chargers tend to do and find a way to lose to Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it should be noted, I don't know why I like this stuff, but I always do. I like to see how players react. What do they do after games? How do they celebrate? Some guys want to go to the club. Some guys just want to go home. Trevor Lawrence, the generational quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What did Trevor Lawrence do after winning his first NFL playoff game? He went to the Waffle House. And celebrated with his boys. I got to tell you, I've been to the Waffle House a couple of times. Like, I don't get it. Ooh, they do potatoes on the grill, hash brown style. Ooh, so good. Really, very, very, quite frankly, overrated. Okay, so let's get into this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home as 2.5-point underdogs with a total here set at over under 45.5 points. Now, if you go back, you can go back on our YouTube page, you can go back on our Facebook page. Facebook.com/InTheCarWithStar, YouTube @SeanStar, Twitter page, all our social channels. You'll find all of our picks from this past weekend in the National Football League. I gave you 10 sides total. I only lost 2 bets, and those 2 bets were the Buffalo Bills minus 13.5 points and the Seattle Seahawks plus 9.5 points. Every other bet I gave you as far as a side, a total, everything won other than those 2. Our prop bets were kind of splitting hairs. We went 4-4 on our proposition bets over the course of the weekend. So we got 5 games, 1 more to go, and it wraps up tonight just past 8 o'clock with Brady as a home underdog for the first time in his career. And it's funny too, right? Because every time I think about the Dallas Cowboys, I'm 44 years old. I've been watching NFL football for arguably my entire life. So I grew up and I watched the 90s dynasty of the Dallas Cowboys with Troy Aikman and the all-world offensive line and the great playmakers that they had, led obviously by Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith. So I saw the Dallas Cowboys. I saw America's team live up to the moniker. I saw this team do some damage and win some big games. But ever since the Dallas Cowboys lost Michael Irvin and lost Emmitt Smith, and they don't have Troy Aikman anymore, I have yet to see the Dallas Cowboys win a big game. Tony Romo never did it. Dak Prescott has yet to do it. And I got to tell you this, even though the Dallas Cowboys are kind of limping in to the playoffs here where they go to Tampa Bay as 2.5-point favorites, they've lost 2 of their previous 4 games. And the other little factoid we can't overlook, Dak Prescott has not been the same caliber quarterbacks since he came back from his thumb injury. Case in point, since week 12, no quarterback in the NFL has thrown more interceptions than Dak Prescott has. He has thrown 15 on the season. That's tied for the league lead. But since week 12, Dak Prescott has thrown 11 picks. Nobody is even close. And the Dallas Cowboys continue to kind of teeter-totter, looking more sideways than they do legitimate. And then we can factor in where they're playing. And I'm not smart enough to tell you why this trend is a real thing and why we have a large enough sample size to work from. But it really is something. It's quite something, to be honest. When you look at the fact that the Dallas Cowboys, 5 times this season, they played on a natural grass surface. So not the artificial field turf we see pretty much dominate NFL stadium landscapes. But in 5 games this season on real grass, the Dallas Cowboys have just 1 win. They're 1-4 on natural grass, and that 1 win came against the Tennessee Titans, who had their backup to the backup, and the Titans were in that game. I think at one point it was a 4-point deficit the Titans were facing until Dallas ultimately pulled away. So when we look at the splits, clearly this is not a favorable matchup for the Dallas Cowboys, because on paper, man-to-man, roster to roster, this should be Dallas all day, every day. But for whatever reason, they leave the Jones Mahal and they go play on a natural surface. They don't win, and they give up more than 10 points per game than they do on every other surface that they have played on so far this season. They're giving up close to 30 points per game on grass surfaces compared to less than 18 points when they play on any other surface that isn't grass. What goes into that? I have no idea. I didn't play a high enough level football to tell you the differences as to why I feel more comfortable on field turf than I do on natural gazon. But as I said, on paper, man, oh man, this is Dallas all day, every day. But when I add it all up, the fact that the Cowboys haven't shown confidence, the fact that Dak Prescott is throwing more picks than he is touchdowns and has thrown 11 in the last 6 weeks, that is problematic for me. It's problematic for me because when I look at how Brady and the Bucs have operated, yes, they're hosting a playoff game as an 8-9 team. Too bad, so sad. That's just the reality of the National Football League, that a sub-500 team gets the luxury of hosting a home playoff game. That's it. Tough noogies, as we used to say back in the day. So when I look at all of those things, and then we haven't even talked about Tom Brady yet. We haven't even talked about the fact that he and Mike Evans, you like the way their season ended with good chemistry, finding the end zone 3 different times in a game. Chris Godwin, I think, is going to be a little bit of an X factor here. And I think Tampa's defense has to stand tall, put pressure on Dak Prescott, force him into mistake like he's used to making. And I think we see an upset. I think we see it. The Tampa Bay Bucs plus 2.5 in a game that stays under 45.5 points. And if you're looking for any prop bets to round out your NFL activities tonight. Chris Godwin, we like him as an anytime touchdown scorer. You're getting 3-1 there. Over 7 receptions for Chris Godwin. Dalton Schultz, over 39.5 receiving yards. And Tom Brady, over 25.5 completions, getting 2-1 on that prop bet. So there you go. That's my breakdown, a thorough breakdown of the Monday night contest tonight. You can listen to it live on TSN 690. The Bucks and Cowboys. The winner goes to San Francisco Sunday at 6:30 to take on who I think, and look, we haven't watched the Chiefs yet. We haven't watched the Eagles yet, but the San Francisco 49ers, for my money, were the most impressive, thorough, and consistent team from all the juggernauts we saw from NFL Super Wildcard Weekend. So again, my picks: Tampa plus 2.5. I like the Bucks to win on the money line, under 45.5. Just a quick recap. We lose with the Seahawks plus 9.5, but won with the over in their game with the Vikings. We won with the Jaguars money line and the Jaguars taking 2 points. We also won with the over in that game. The Bills didn't cover, so we lost there, but we cheered for points and we got them in the Dolphins and Bills game. So there's another winner. And then we swept the Giants-Vikings game with the Giants plus 3, a Giants money line, and the game ultimately going over 48 points. So there's 10 picks. I gave you 8 winners. Hopefully, we can crush it again today as we did in the Giants game by backing the Bucks and the points and cheering on Tom Terrific to go back to his native San Francisco in the divisional round to match up with the San Francisco 49ers. In the Car with Star, proud presentation as always by Axon, axongroup.com. They are one of Canada's largest intermodal transportation providers. So whether you're shipping across border or here within the country domestically, you can trust Axon and axongroup.com with your precious freight, knowing that they have the knowledge and all the assets to get your freight to its destination the best way possible, on budget and on time. Visit axongroup.com or give them a call at 888-99-AXON, A-X-S-U-N. And don't forget, hopefully y'all snacked up and fueled up at K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, Highway 138 in beautiful Ganawage, right over the Mercier Bridge. You get premium fuel at discount prices. Their gas bar is open 24 hours a day. So they have someone there on a frigid day like today. You stay in the car. They'll fill up the gas to your specifications. And I remind you, that is a tippable service. We tip for that service. That's not something you roll your window down. Be a good human. Talk to the person. Listen, I need $50 regular. Boom. That's a $2 tip every day, all day. And while they're doing that, I encourage you to head over to their snack bar. Don't forget, today's Monday, so you can have salad bowls. Tomorrow will be Taco Tuesday, so you're going to have fresh tacos. Everything's made in-house and freshly grown garden tomatoes for a great BLT sandwich. Tell them In the Car with Star sent you, proud sponsors of In the Car with Star. We got lots of comments to go over. Steph Howard, I'm a Bills fan, but really also a Burrows fan. I really don't like this matchup. I don't blame you, Steph Howard, and everybody else from Bills Nation. The fact that, to me, you hit me up in the comments. Are you worried? You worried a little bit about how that Bills defense looked against Skylar Thompson and the Miami Dolphins, and the fact that Jalen Waddle dropped multiple catchable balls, especially early on in that ball game. Tyreek Hill only started to flex later in the game. That maybe results go differently for you if all the stars had properly aligned for the Miami Dolphins. But listen, there's no pitchers on the scorecard, my friends. A win is a win is a win. But I will tell you, when it comes to looking at games, we can only react to what we saw. We can only feed off of what we just saw. And what I just saw is a little concerning. A little concerning that Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase and everybody that they have in Cincinnati, these guys are used to winning underdog games where nobody counts them out. The fact that they play close quarter games, yeah, I see your point of view, Steph. I can, if I were a Buffalo Bill fan, yeah, I'd be a little nervous too. So we have some time before we get there. That game will go Sunday afternoon at 3. The Bills at home at Orchard Park in Western New York, taking on Joe Burrow and the Bengals as 4.5-point favorites. That's where the line open. The golf club bag looks like a ninja in the background. I love this bag, baby. This bag here, as you can see here, I'll take you away. This is my beautiful Titleist bag. Some of you may have saw it. I tweeted out a picture. I went and I hit some golf balls on Friday in the snowstorm. And my buddy Mikey took a picture of me walking down St. Peter with my golf bag strewn across my shoulder. So much so that Golf Canada reached out to me, say, Sean, can I publish that photo? They love that photo. So of course, put that out there. And yeah, I love it has my name on it. it correctly. Shaun Starr. You'd be shocked how many times people don't spell my name correctly. In the Car with Star on this Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, you can like, subscribe, hit the little bell on your YouTube. That way you'll never miss any of our best bets. And of course, the Montreal Canadiens back in action tomorrow when they take on the Winnipeg Jets. We'll be here to recap that game together on Wednesday. In the Car with Star, proud presentation of Axon and AxonGroup.com and K-Stop Gaspar, Highway 138 in Ganawage. We'll see you later.